Now, I wanted to talk about how or which character from the famous game Zenless Zone Zero has the tastiest looking pits. Now, before you think I'm some kind of weird pervert, I want to let you know I'm actually a psychologist and I study biology, so I know what I'm talking about. This is just a study, like, just to explain. Now, these all these banging waifus from Zenless Zone Zero, they all have a fair chance of being number one. But my personal number one, before I get into it, I have to tell you, I'm not a sheep. The characters I put in the thumbnail are nowhere near number one. And I'm going to go over the reasons before I show you who number one is. Number 3, Melina. Now, the reason why she's not number one is simply just because. Now, there's a difference between being sexy, like subtle sexy, like being very subtle about it. I think that's how you pronounce it. And there's a thing called being too overly sexy, which is it just isn't sexy anymore, where it's just not as sexy. And let me tell you, Melina's character design is way too overly sexual, where I just kept keeping it in my pants. I mean, Zenless Zone Zero could just be classified as hot chick heaven, to be honest. Now, Melina's character design, too much cleavage going on. It's literally down the middle. It's just not very subtle and subtle, whatever the fuck the word is. And it just doesn't get me off as much as, you know, my number one pick. And on to the next ZZZ girl, the banging waifu, Vivian Banshee. Now, personally, she's a very close contender. But the one thing about her character design that ruins any subtle formality is that there's too much side boob going on. Too much side boob. Maybe if her shirt was tucked in a bit more, but there's just too much side boob going on, and it's not very sexy. It's not very sexy. But definitely a strong number 2 contender. Now, my last character before I go to number 1 is Grace Howard. Now, this again is another example of being too overly sexy to the point where it's not as sexy as it should be, you know. Now, one thing that could completely change her character that make her even sexier was if she was wearing a tank top instead. You know, being more subtle about it instead of wearing a bra. If she was wearing a tank top that covered a bit more of her beautiful midriff, then she'd probably be easily number 2 or honorable mention, you know. Now, my number 1 here is why, and to skip all this rambling, my number 1 is easily Evelyn Chevalier. Now, I'm going to explain this as easy as I can, as simple as I can, so these simple-minded people can understand why Evelyn's number 1 in the contest of tastiest pits and ZZZZ. Yeah, 4 Z's. My bad. Now, remember what I said about Melina? Subtleness is hot. You know, being sexy without knowing you're being sexy. Now, the thing that sets her apart from other characters is that her cleavage isn't just for show. You know what I mean? Like, it's all covered. There's no access. But you turn to the side, and there's just the right amount of balanced side boob that is visible and to her actual chest area, and it's just simply amazing. Now, the thing is, again, like I said, subtleness is really hot. You know, it's important in the market, and Evelyn just takes the cake for that. Just imagine being on this empty Sahara desert, and you walk across Evelyn Chevalier. She looks at you. She goes, "Oh my God, you're such a dirty dog." Now, I'd get rock hard immediately, and if she lets me get even a sip of her lavish, heavenly, otherworldly pit juice, I would get on my knees and grovel for this banging hot chick. Like I said, ZZZ is basically hot chick heaven, hot chick paradise. You know what I mean? You can play in the Himalayas for days, but yeah, Evelyn is leading up easily number 1. Now, that's just because I decided to pump my love for Nicole a little bit away. You know, the Gyarus are unbeatable.